My 32 female family takes an annual trip, and for years now, we alternate who pays. This year is my year. I dated a guy for 2 years, and let's just say he was incredibly toxic, and I'm in a much better mental state because he's out of my life. My brother, 22, is gay and has been in a relationship for 6 months, but hasn't introduced his boyfriend to us. This is odd because we'd met as previous boyfriends. As the weeks and months went on, I started to ask constantly why I couldn't meet his new boyfriend. I began to worry it was some insane age gap between them or something. Yesterday, my brother jokingly took my phone and ran off, so I jokingly took his phone, which he'd left unlocked. I got curious and looked at his pictures. I saw pictures of my ex, and I was confused why he would have pictures of my ex smiling. Then it hit me. I thought my ex was straight, so I needed confirmation. I unblocked him on Instagram to see tons of pictures of him and my brother, clearly in a relationship. I confronted my brother about it and he said, "I'm sorry. This is why I didn't want to tell you. I didn't intentionally try to date him. He started hanging out with a friend and it went from there. I really care about him, and you know he's hot. Ha ha." Since I'm paying for the trip, I'm uninviting my brother. Along with him, my family thinks I'm wrong for this. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I don't blame you for not wanting to vacation with your brother. It's not like he's seeing a man you had a fling with. You were in a 2-year relationship with this person. That's a major betrayal. Your family wants you to sweep it under the rug for the sake of peace. But this is the type of behavior that gives you grounds to go full no contact with your brother if you want it. Don't let other people manipulate you into thinking that you're wrong for having an emotional reaction to this. Not only did he break your trust and date an ex behind your back, he's bringing toxicity back into your life. That's not someone I'd want to spend a vacation with, let alone pay to do it. He knows he's in the wrong. How did he think this would go? Did he just hide who he was dating forever? That you'd just get over it eventually? Also, the fact that he pointed out he was hot just adds a layer of superficiality. So he's willing to mess up his relationship with you because your ex is hot? Exactly. It was a toxic 2-year relationship that apparently caused quite a bit of mental distress for OP. She finally gets rid of him, and now he's back with her brother? My first read is that he's dating your brother to mess with you. What kind of age is compatible with 32 and 22? And he posts pictures on Instagram? Of course he wants her to find out. They started dating after the ex suddenly started hanging out with a friend of the brother. He was toxic then, and he's toxic now, using the brother to get to OP. I'd do more than just cut your brother from the trip. I'd cut him from my life. The betrayal's unreal. And if your family's mad at you, they don't have to come either. Go on your own and protect your peace. I disagree. OP, your brother's wrong for all of that, but you should continue the tradition and refrain from disinviting him. I'm more worried for your brother than anything else. There's a 10-year age difference between you and your brother. So was he actually privy to all of the details about your relationship and subsequent breakup? Since he would have been a teenager when you started dating this guy. How old were you all when you were dating this guy and broke up? Your ex is using your brother to get to you. He could have dated any guy, but he dates your brother? You said the relationship was toxic. He might be doing this to provoke you or to hurt you and your family. I'm sorry your ex is an idiot, but your brother's a fool. I love my wife very much. She's a smart and capable woman who leaves me in the dust in most categories. However, my wife cannot cook at all. She burned water once. She was boiling water for rice and had oil in it. She got distracted and the water boiled off. Then the oil caught fire. Then she threw water on it and nearly burned her parents' house down. She can follow instructions on microwave food. She can use the microwave to reheat leftovers. That's about it. Her mom and dad gave up trying to teach her. Now, I love cooking. I enjoy making tasty meals from scratch when I have the time. One of my go-to meals is fried chicken thighs and waffles. I use my dad's waffle recipe, and they come out light and crispy. Perfect. I don't always make them though, because it takes time. I cheat sometimes and use premix. They're heavier and kind of floppy, not crisp. So I was making breakfast yesterday, and the kids were at the table. I've got the chicken going and I'm making waffles. It's a good morning. My wife decided to help and covered the waffles in foil so they stayed warm. They did. They also steamed and got soft. So I finished making myself a waffle, served my food, and left the kitchen. She can finish everything off. She does this constantly. I'll be making steaks and I'm resting them, and she throws them back on the grill to keep warm. I'll have the chicken fully cooked and tender, and she'll turn up the heat and dry it out, just to make sure. I am sure. She approached me yesterday for the 50th time and asked why I always walk away when she tries to help. I explained for the 50th time that I enjoy making good food, and that her help is almost always universally detrimental to the meal I'm trying to make. She thinks I'm an idiot for caring so much about how the food feels and tastes. She can do whatever she wants when it's her turn to cook. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. How many times should you explain that food is meant to be a certain way? I'm not a cook, but I think she would drive me crazy. Too many hands in the kitchen winds up making the chef angry. Let's be clear, she's not trying to help. She's just interfering. If she legitimately wanted to help, she would come into the kitchen when you're cooking and say, "How can I help?" and listen to your responses and follow through. But she doesn't want to be helpful. She wants to control some aspect of what you're doing. So she interferes with your process every single time, even if it literally means making the food significantly less tasty. And then she defends herself with this ridiculous argument that you shouldn't care how the food tastes, which is about as illogical as it gets. Gently, I would suggest that your wife needs therapy to figure out why she just can't ask you how she can be helpful, but rather needs to interfere anytime you try to cook. Is she jealous that you're a better cook? Does she have control issues in general? Because something's going on here. My parents agree with my wife and think I'm in the wrong, but I want to know if this is really true. I'm male, 27, and my wife, 25, have recently bought a 3-room apartment. We decided that one room would kind of be like an office room for both of us. Around a week ago, she had to go on a business trip for only a few days, so I decided to use that time to fix the room to my liking. Since I play video games, I have figures of some characters in games, etc. While renovating, I put a shelf full of those figures together with some other stuff. I left exactly half the space of the room for her to do whatever she would like. When my wife came back, she was furious that I didn't tell her about me renovating the room and that it destroyed the formal office kind of theme. She already had a picture of how she wanted the room to look, and I guess I destroyed it for her. I told her I could buy a green screen so that the background wouldn't be of my desk when she had online meetings, but that didn't work out for her, as it would take up too much space. I told her I wouldn't change how my desk looked, and if she didn't like it, she had to have other solutions for it. It became a big argument between us when I told my parents about it. They were on her side, saying I should throw away my stuff and start being more mature. That kind of hit me since that stuff costs way too much to just be thrown away. Am I the idiot for renovating the office without discussing it with my wife? But this is an office, not a gaming room. You waited till she was gone to turn it into your gamer cave in the house that both of you share. She lives there too. She works there too. Her input matters, and you knew she wouldn't like it, so you tried to be sneaky about it. Dude, you don't live alone. Doing this without your wife's input makes you the idiot. Such a selfish way to go about this. To my liking means you know it was a one-sided move. She needs a professional-looking background if she's holding meetings in that space. That's not her being controlling. That's her setting a fair boundary for what she wants for her space. You going over her head makes you an idiot. It's an office, not a gaming room. Do you expect to be loudly playing your video games in there while she's in meetings? LOL at this guy thinking shared space to mean literally, you get half, I get half, like a line drawn down the middle of a room in a sitcom. OP, you and the wife are not on the same page. How can you share a marriage, a house, let alone a single small office if you can't do that? I've been seeing my fiancé for 4 years now, and I came into the relationship with 2 boys. My boys are now tween and preteen. Once a year, the boys and I go to my family's vacation home with the entire family, and up until this year, my fiancé did not attend. But now that we're engaged and merging families, the family asked that he come too. They all get along great with him anyways. I explained to him before we went to our family retreat that my kids do not have a bedtime during the week stay with the family. We do a lot of night activities, such as night swimming in the pool, karaoke, fires, nightly strolls through the neighborhood, etc., etc. So during this week, my kids absolutely do not have a bedtime, and this is how it's always been. I made it clear that bedtime was not to be enforced like it was at home, because this is a vacation and time with family, and I'm not making my kids miss out on the nightly activities. I also explained that due to this, some nights they're up until easily 11 or midnight. It's once a year, so it's no big deal. So he's fully aware, and please note that this is the only time I've seen this side of him that I'll mention below. We get here the first night, and you can tell he's already uncomfortable with the boys staying up past their bedtime. He was stressing out because the boys were still in the pool at 10 p.m., and he felt that they should be in bed already. I reminded him at least twice that we were not enforcing a bedtime here, and he let it go the first night. The second night, 9 p.m. rolls around, and the boys were still up, and my fiancé was dropping comments like, "You're lucky you're even still awake right now. You should be in bed," saying it right in front of my mom, who looked mortified that he had such an attitude. I told him to cut the crap in private. He tells me he thinks it's messed up and that it's going to be terrible trying to get them back on their schedule. Never been an issue in the years prior. I stood firm and told him to knock it off and let it go. But then last night, my fiancé started angrily sighing every single time he looked at my kids still awake, and I finally pulled him aside and told him he was an embarrassment because he kept saying these comments in front of my family, which led to awkward silences and judgmental glances my way. I warned him prior to coming here that if he had an issue that he couldn't control for a week, then he needed to leave because he was ruining our trip with his passive-aggressive BS surrounding a bedtime. He told me I'm an idiot for making him feel like garbage over wanting to keep the kids on a schedule because it's, quote, best for them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Is this the first time the power dynamic is completely shifted to you? You're in your home court now. It's your rules, your dynamic, your family. You have all the power here. Now, for most people, this isn't an issue at all. It's barely noticeable or notable. But this guy clearly simply can't handle the fact that he's not in charge here. It's eating at him to the point of irritability. I'm sorry, but this is him showing you who he really is. Reflect on this. Where else have you seen his control issues, but you dismiss them? They're there all around you. I think the biggest concern here is the remarks to the children. The way he was undermining you to them and being passive-aggressive with them probably made them feel really uncomfortable. I think you should check in with them about how they feel about him and really listen to them. This may not be the first time he's tried to exert control with them behind your back. Yep, the mask is slipping. This is a critical point. OP says she's never seen this side of him before. She probably has, but she just didn't recognize it for what it was at the time. She needs to do a serious review of their time together and see how many times she's given in or gone along with his wishes to keep the peace. Because once the ring is on her finger, all bets will be off. Seen this story one too many times, unfortunately. Update. Thank you all. However, I've noticed a lot of conflicting opinions on his parenting versus mine in the past, such as he pushes modesty to the highest degree possible and has issues with me walking around in a sports bra, or the fact that he feels the boy should have to ask permission to eat the snacks that I purchased for them. I don't agree with that either, and there really was no compromise made there because he absolutely hates that the boys have an open door policy on my fridge. He also hates that I allow them to have drinks right before bed because then they're up using the bathroom. So now that I mention it, there have been a lot of issues that I've overlooked in the past and turned a blind eye to. but usually he does pull me aside and bring up the issues in private, whereas while we've been here, he's just pushing his passive aggressiveness off in public like he should be the decision maker. On Valentine's Day, I got 2 large pizzas for my family to eat, and then I went to work. When I got home from my night shift, I went into the fridge and saw that there was still half a pizza left. I warmed up 3 slices for my supper and watched some TV with my cat while I ate. My son, 22, got up before I went to bed and looked in the fridge. He got upset that I'd eaten the food he planned to take for his lunch. There's lots of other food in the fridge. He said he told his mom that he was taking the pizza for lunch and that I was greedy for eating it. I asked him if he would be greedy for taking the pizza for lunch, and he got cranky and left. My wife woke up when she heard us arguing. She said that he had asked her and she said yes. I said, "Great, where's my dinner then?" She said she didn't make me anything since there were leftovers. I asked her what leftovers, and the light bulb went off in her head. She said she was sorry for not making me dinner. I told her it wasn't her fault. There were leftovers. My son came back into the room and started arguing again that he had already claimed the leftovers for himself. This is where I might be the idiot. I asked him how much he had paid for the food. $0. How much he paid in rent? $0. Utilities? $0. We're letting him live here so he can save money while he's in college. But I'm sick of this entitled little jerk. I told him if he had a problem with me eating his leftovers, maybe he should move out so he could have his food safely stored away from me. Then my wife says I'm taking it too far. But he backed down pretty quickly and said no, that he was sorry for saying anything. My wife says I'm being an idiot for scaring him by kicking him out over some leftover pizza. I'm not. I'm making sure he knows the best way to keep the food that I paid for safe from me is to live elsewhere and buy your own food. Am I the idiot? He has a job. We're letting him stay here so he can save money. We're paying for his college. He doesn't help out with anything except chores around the house. His leftovers? Excuse me? Leftovers are only leftovers when everyone has had their share of the meal. Your retort to him about what bills he pays in the house is pretty spot on, and something any parent I know would say. Sucks being on the receiving ends of that quip, but it's valid. Your wife sounds like an enabler and is just as selfish as your son if she allows him to claim half a pizza for his lunch after you went without. He does sound like an idiot. Sorry you have to deal with him. Exactly this. It's not leftovers if everyone hadn't eaten. It's still dinner. My daughter did something very similar with pizza in the fridge. She was saving it for her breakfast the next day. She threw a massive fit because her dad had eaten it for a midnight snack. Now, she's 4 years old, not 22. This is way too funny. I'm going to say not the idiot. If he wanted to save the pizza for himself, he should have labeled it or packed it up already. He's living there for free, but he thinks it's okay to call you greedy for having some leftover food you paid for? One thing though, you are a grown person and you can make yourself something to eat for supper if there are no leftovers. I warmed up 3 slices for supper and watched TV with my cat while I ate. The man's just trying to enjoy a quiet dinner with his cat after a 12-hour shift and has to deal with his shiftless son's ridiculous entitlement. Geez, I hope the cat got some pizza too.